Thanks everyone for joining today. Today we're just covering our table 11 in terms of our cadaver and the new features and tools that we have added to our cadavers. Right here is pretty much an overview of the features that I will be covering in this session. We have a new branch slider bar feature to our current slider bar. We have in our settings, there is something we call the preferences icon that you'll see here that will have three new kind of modes available: the branch visualization, the glossy, and the modesty modes that have been added. In our visibility menu, you'll see now there is something that we call the complexity modes at the bottom. Basically, varying complexity. The quiz mode, we added the ability. Normally, you just ask the structure, you tap on the structure of interest, and so forth. But now we have the ability to add long form questions, so you can type your own type of physiological questions behind a certain structure. Another features that we've also added is the schematics and ultrasound tool that can be found in our layout tool, and which I will get to shortly. And with that, I'll open up my table application and I'll share that and get to that. All right, so here I've opened up just our Wiki cadaver, as you can see here. Again, I'm just going to be simply running through the table 11 new features and tools that we added. The first feature I wanted to talk about is this branch slider bar feature icon right here. This enables us now full control of specific branches, our arteries, our veins, and nerves. So I'm going to take our top structure slider bar and drag that to the left. As you can see, mainly just our cardiovascular system as you normally saw in previous versions. However, I'm also going to take the bottom slider bar. I can now control simply by tapping on this red, blue, and yellow icon right here. Tapping it one time allows me full control of only the arteries now, as you can see this red line. And of course, again, moving to the right brings back more versus left removes. So as you can see there, specific control over arteries. Specific control over veins would just be tapping the icon again. You'll see it now highlights the blue. It's now blue. And now I solely control veins. And for nerves, our final part, you can just tap that icon one more time. And now we have full control over just our veins. And then tapping this once again will remove that individual control. And then again, we're back to normal branch control. Another neat feature that we've added with our branch selection here is if I tap this artery, so if I just show our arteries, we actually now have the ability, we've added kind of like presets for our branches. With this icon, you can see this kind of flashcard icon on the right-hand side of this bottom slider bar. Tapping it, you can see we kind of get the head and neck, forward around the mouth region. As you can see here, now we have kind of a more regional control of your branches. So that way you don't have to, go through our visibility menu and, select a certain region. You can now use this to very quickly focus on a specific branched region. So that is our branch slider bar feature. In our next tool that is in very similar reference, we would have the preferences icon. So the preferences icon is with the settings icon right here in the bottom left. Preferences, you can see this blue 3-dot icon located right here. I'll tap on that. You can see some of icons that are familiar from table 10 and previous. Our new ones that I wanted to talk about were this brain icon, branch visualization, and the modesty mode. The brain icon pretty much is just a glossy control. As you see, I turned it off. You can see how it's very just a solid red color here versus tapping the brain should elicit. You can see now there's some shininess. It's just a glossy mode if you care about that for visualization. The branch visualization feature, so this icon located here at the bottom, this one basically enables you to visualize child and parent branches a little bit more on a macro level. In terms of if I were to turn this on and then tap a branch, you can see how, the main branch that was selected, you can see it kind of goes darker to lighter to lighter to light-ist right here. This is basically in reference to the darker colors represent our parent branches versus the lighter colors represent our child branches. So from here, you can tap on pretty much any type of, artery or vein to be able to see the child and parent branches very quickly. The modesty mode. So pretty much that is dedicated to anyone who has, students with maybe a little bit less maturity than you were hoping for, and cannot take things a little bit seriously. So if I were to, let me just bring back everything, and then let me get rid of the integumentary. So you can see here, obviously, reproductive system, sometimes for our younger students, a little bit challenging. If I were to use the modesty mode, it's currently on the advanced, obviously showing everything. But if I go to hidden, it will actually, as you can see, reproductive parts are now removed. However, hidden means that you can actually still access them through our visibility menu. So if I tap on the eyeball icon, our visibility menu, I will then go to our reproductive. You can see how I can still select for specific, structures to still be brought back. So that's what the hidden feature means. That just means visually it becomes hidden. They'll have to look into the visibility menu to turn on reproductive structures. If I were to do removed, you can see how it's still everything's removed, but that essentially means that within our visibility menu, these are still visible as options, but there's nothing that's going to happen. As you can see, if I turn on all these, there's nothing that turns on. So you can use that. If you forget that, there's also this little eye icon right here. This will just, define each one of those terms for you just as well. I'm just going to go back to none. And exit out of that, exit out of that, and exit out of here. Zoom out a little bit. The next thing I want to talk about was our complexity modes. So as you can see here, our complexity modes are all defined at the bottom here. I had this on the basic mode, but normally the default would be the advanced mode. Essentially, this limits the amount of structures within a category that you're able to select for. So again, in terms of, your higher division classes versus your lower division classes, you might use a variation of what you really need them to know. And this just helps you, kind of filter out those structures. So for instance, I'm just going to also deselect this user. If I were to focus on, let's say, the head and neck bones, right? Bring that into view. Okay. Head and neck bones. You can see we have, frontal bone, parietal. We have each one of our bones all listed within our head and neck in the advanced feature. So the normal default. If I wanted to simplify this, for those lower division courses, I can tap on this one right here, advanced, intermediate, basic. I'll go to the basic mode with just the one bar filled in, press OK, and you can see how my list has completely changed to just cranial, facial, hyoid, and ear bones. And you can see now if I tap, it highlights all my cranial bones, all my facial bones, and hyoid bones, of course. So that's the complexity feature. You can use that however you would like. In terms of our ability, another thing that we have added is our custom quiz questions. So that is found again in our quiz mode with the brain flashcard located right here. I'm going to tap on my pencil ruler icon to create a quiz like normally. I'm just going to create a quiz for today. I'll just call this webinar quiz. Do the arrow button. First step, setting up a desired structure view, add an annotation to find questions. Step 3 is to use the plus button to add questions to the quiz. So pretty typical there. This is still pretty similar to what you had before. The new icon you can see is right here. This is to import custom quiz questions. So if you don't want to go on the table and type out everything, you can import questions this way. There is also the other way within this menu right here that we're able to also create them. So I'll do through the menu first, and then I'll import my own CSV that I've created. So from here, what I'm going to do is I'll just select a couple structures as normally. I'm going to use my action menu, so I'll just double tap my mandible. Okay, this one. Press the A button, frontal bone. So I'll just do, just a pretty simple around our cranial bones and our facial bones, and I'll do the plus button like normal. So you can see right here, normally these icons were not here, these 3 dotted icons, but this basically allows us, the control over physiology or questions. So I can press the three dot icon right here. You can see this will elicit this question box right here. From here, I can simply represent, lower jawbone, or what is the lower jawbone? Question mark. I press OK, and you can see now the question is asked like this. It'll still display like how you normally take a quiz, but instead of saying mandible, tap on mandible, it's going to display this question, and they'll still have to tap on the mandible per se. You can still, of course, leave the question just as is with the frontal bone. And again, you can, make whatever kind of views you want. You're not stuck in the initial view that you create. So let me import a CSV file and show how that works. So I've already created one for you. If you tap on this CSV icon right here, this is the import. Give it a second. And then I'm gonna go to downloads. And then I'm going to show, actually. I'll show this also for clarification purposes. Another thing that's, important to note about that CSV file when you're creating it, what you want to do is you want to make sure the first row says question, because basically that question is going to denote the rest of the questions in that column for you to be able to question on. So if I share my CSV file, my simple CSV file here, you can see right here how I wrote question in my first row, and then here is all my questions that follow through right there. From there, I can just download this. Just download this file, download, and then CSV file. You see, I already downloaded it. And then what I want to do is I'm going to go back to my software. So essentially you can do this on your computer. You could do this on the table. This just, again, is just so you don't have to type actually on the table. And then from here, what you're going to want to do is I'm going to reshare my screen. Just tap on the brain flashcard, pencil ruler. Looks like my quiz window went away. Arrows. There we go. Import CSV. You can see there's my webinar quiz. Don't know I didn't show up earlier, but okay. You can see how it's going to be red. Don't worry about that. That doesn't mean any errors. That just, imports correctly. If you import something that is not a CSV file, unfortunately, it won't tell you that it's an unsupported file type. It's just not going to do anything. So if you keep trying that, you're like, why isn't my file uploading? I have this in a sort of, whatever kind of sheet style. Just know it's because it's not a CSV file and you need it to be a CSV file. So you can see here, I can then basically what I want to do is assign structures. So I'm going to make sure my structures are available. So, given digestive, I'll just do my liver, go to muscular, go to bicep. I'll just do the right bicep. And also like you can assign these to whatever structure. So that's something of importance. Like you still are going to need to know the structure to tap it on, because I can put this on a totally different structure until I make it wrong. So for instance, if I were to assign these questions, I'm going to do what organ secretes bile, tap on the three dot icon. You'll see this menu right here. You'll see your question posed, 150 characters only. And the way to assign the question is this plus button right here. Tapping on that plus button, I'll then tap on the structure. You see liver, I press OK, and now it's assigned to the liver. And you just want to keep doing that for each one of them. So I do, three dot icon, the plus icon, press the brachii, press OK. And then, like I said, you can see my question here, but you're still going to have to sign it correctly. It's not going to, it's not, I guess, smart enough to, correct you for this. So you could do like plus, and for instance, and just tap a completely wrong artery in this case. Press OK. And then simply, saving the quiz is just the same as usual. You're just going to select them all with the check mark here. You have the floppy disk looking icon right here. 3 different ways to save. Again, within the application software with the green arrow going into the folder, arrow going into the computer is to export outside the application software. And then quiz history is your short-term save space. So I'm going to save mine there. I'll press OK. OK. Exit out of there. To take my quiz, I'm going to again hit the brain flashcard. I'm going to press on the pointer icon right above, blue arrow going down, orange clock, webinar quiz. Press on the green play button. I'll just do our pick me mode. And you'll see this is how it poses. So very similar to how, before, prior versions, it just now you have this ability to customize, those long form questions. It works the same way. You see I tap on the structure, I'll hit confirm. It's the same concept. I can still tap on different structures. You can see it poses at the top of your table as well. And pretty much you can see there how it poses the same. Show details, and you can see the question versus student input. So this is something, as you can see here, it doesn't actually tell me the, right answer per se. It just tells me the question. So just make sure you know your own answer, I guess, or your own question. So just keep in mind about that. I'll exit out of that. And then finally, I'm going to get into our kind of our new features. So our new features, if I'm actually going to remove out this, and I'm going to do this. So some new features that we have available for us is I'm actually going to turn on the entire cardiovascular. Is our schematics feature is the first one that I would like to show. Again, if you go to the top underneath the gold star, there is our split icon right here. This is our layout tool. Tapping this layout tool option, you can see a bunch of now icons are added. You want to tap on the schematics icon here, second to last at the end. Schematics is basically a simplified version of how you could view arteries and veins. Currently, we only have it on a regional basis. And basically, so if I were to tap on, let's say, this middle icon right here, you can see this is my circle Willis and posterior arteries of the brain arteries right here. If they are visible, so if they're visible on the 3D side, you can see them highlighted. So if I were to tap once here on the ACA artery, you can see how it's highlighted all right there. So again, just kind of a very simplified version of how you can view your cardiovascular system. If I were to double tap on an artery per se, it should elicit an annotation. You can zoom out, and there you can annotate it on the right-hand side. If you don't like this orientation, you can also reorient it or rotate it by using this rotate icon right here to the left of the artery icon. So you can see here, it's just pretty much rotating in either direction. The icon right here that's grayed out, this would represent if we had veins for this region. So if we had that available, that icon would be highlighted. You tap on it, you would see the veins instead of the arteries per se in this case. To go back to the full list of schematics, again, just tap this arrow icon, and you can see here, you can just start to tap on different ones. So for instance here, mesenteric arteries, you can see this one has veins. So if I tap on here, you can see now I get the veins. So that is how schematics works. The last new feature that we have is our updated ultrasound tool. As you may have known it from table 10, it is a colorized visualization of the 2D basically view. I'm going to bring back everything. And then here, zoom in a little bit. Again, that is again found in our layout tool, the split icon right here. I will tap on this, go to the end, you'll see an ultrasound tool right here. I'll tap on that, and you can see now our updated ultrasound. Again, the table 10, you can see was just this kind of middle column right here. With table 11, we've added this, more typical view. Again, you can still move around this ultrasound tool just by simply dragging it to view, all across our cadavers. You can change the angle with this yellow ball at the top here and just drag that. And you can also change the angle as well using this yellow bar, yellow kind of circle around to rotate the ultrasound tool. With this, you still have your ability, as you did before, to be able to do the flat colorings, be able to see, our branches with this right here. If you wanted to get different probes, because we actually have 3 different probes available with our ultrasound tool, you can just tap on this probe icon right here. We can go from the top right here, which would represent our, our phased array ultrasound. Again, this would be something ideal in terms of anything of your cardiac muscles. That would be something ideal to visualize with this, as it is the the largest depth of field that you can get. Tapping this icon again, we can then tap on this middle icon right here, which would represent our linear probe. So as you can see here, this would be ideal for, kind of your vascular imaging. As you can see, this is more kind of surface, closer to the surface for structures that is available. Tapping this icon one more time, we have the third option, which was just the initial view that you saw, again, representing our convex ultrasound tool, allowing this for, pretty much abdominal imaging would probably be optimal in terms of our in-depth imaging. This would be kind of in between. You can also just view one of these screens at one time if you like one over the other, simply by tapping on this kind of split ultrasound icon right here. This, you can see there's single ones versus that split. So you can see by the single, obviously it just goes to, each one of the probe types, as you can see here in the black and white, versus the 2D colorized. Tapping the icon again, tapping there, the same deal. Versus going back to the, all 3 views into view is just this icon right above the split icon again. You can see go back. If your ultrasound tool is a little bit off or something, you can always reset it just as well. You can reset it with this kind of reset refresh icon right here. And you can see it goes back to the initial starting point if you want to start over. And with that, that's the last feature I have for today. Again, if you want to go back to a 3D cadaver, tap on the split icon layout tool underneath the gold star, tap on the cadaver icon that's first right here, tap on that, and you'll go back to just our 3D cadaver. But yeah, that's all the new features and tools I have for our gross anatomy cadavers. Thanks for joining today.